Hello students, this is Partha Chakravarti from Department of Geology, University of Delhi. Today the topic of discussion is that the plate tectonics, the sedimentary basins and some idea about the role of plate tectonics in forming the different kind of hydrocarbon reserve. So, we have already discussed little bit about the hydrocarbon, that how the hydrocarbons that form the accumulation of organic matter, their maturation and all these things. We also have discussed that the sedimentary basin, that what are the different kind of sedimentary basin, that is by mechanical stretching, thermal subsidence, then the foreland kind of setting. All these things we have already discussed. The motto of this present module is to discuss that in the plate tectonic perspective how the basins are there, and giving some example in the global scale. I will try to describe that how the basins which are formed in different plate tectonic scenario, they help in the formation of some kind of the reservoir system that help in the hydrocarbon reserve formation. So, once you go through this model, you will be able to understand the role of plate tectonics in the formation of the basins, the basin fill, the type of sedimentary body that is formed and how it help in the formation of a hydrocarbon reserve. You will also able to know that how the global tectonics that plays a major role in forming the basin and the hydrocarbon reserve. We will also able to understand that what are the criteria we look for to identify the role of plate tectonics in formation of the basins and the hydrocarbon reserve. Now, coming on to the main discussion, what we can see that the plate tectonics has a role on the formation of basin and hydrocarbon reserve. How we got sure about this? This whole thing started with Alfred Wegener when he proposed in the early 19th century that basically there is a concept called continental drift. The continental drift, that the continents they have drifted apart from one another at certain times in the history of the earth. And when that is found that yes, that is the truth by means of different kind of criteria which I will be discussing in course of this discussion, then people started talking about the different kind of basins and the hydrocarbon reserves what they found at the boundary of the different continents. Most important of this is the western boundary of the Africa and the eastern boundary of South America. There what the basins which are formed, the Brazilian basins, that is the Campos basin, the Espinho Santos basin, and all these basins they basically talk about the role of plate tectonics into the system. Now, if plate tectonics is a major role player, then people started talking about the petroleum system. The petroleum system, that means you talk about that where the source rock that is being formed, how the reservoir rocks is formed, how the history of the migration and what is the history of the trap formation in the whole thing. So, once these things are known to the people and they could connect to the different kind of the plate tectonic setting, then the role of plate tectonics into the entire scenario of the basin formation and the petroleum formation that comes into picture. So, accordingly what happened that people started seeing some of the features depending on the plate tectonic scenario, the role of formation of some of the hydrocarbon reserves, and from knowing that knowledge that what they got, they started seeking or they started searching for the other similar kind of scenario where they can get the more reserve. So, some past knowledge help in the future prospecting and the future query that where we should get the hydrocarbon reserves more and which is not very prospective in terms of the hydrocarbon reserve. So, this history of the relating the plate tectonics, relating the global tectonics into the basin formation as well as the hydrocarbon formation, that basically is the theme of the present module which is to be discussed in this section. So, when we talk about the hydrocarbon reserve, if I go back to that stage, we know that the hydrocarbon reserve, when we talk about the petroleum system, we talk about the reservoir rocks, the source rock and all these things together. So, any model when we will be relating the basin formation and the hydrocarbon reserve, all the components of a petroleum system, that is right from the source rock to the reservoir rock and its migrating pathway, all should be related to the concept of tectonics, that how they are related to the different kinds of basin formation. Now, in terms of basin, when we talk about, the basins are formed, as we know, by different kind of processes. Some are the process which are related to the stretching, some are the processes which are related to the compression, and some are the basins which are related to the strike slip motion, where there is no extension or compression. So, you can see in this figure at 4 stages A, B, C, D, this figure shows how the stretching or the extension that basically help in the formation of the basin. Now, this is the figure A. If you look, that there is a convection shell in the asthenosphere on the mantle that is working, which is causing a extension in the crust overlying it. Now, this extension may either remain limited within the crust, or it may lead to a spreading that will open a proto-ocean basin with the oceanic crust that is being shown here. Now, this proto-ocean basin that may remain as a proto-ocean basin, or as is the Gulf of Mexico, or it can lead to the spreading to a large scale, where the two constituent blocks on either side of the spreading that get separated for a long distance, and thereby they give the formation of the passive margin on the two sides of the country. So, this basically lead to the concept that is called drifting. So, this spreading that will lead to the process that is called drifting, and finally, when this drifting for a long time, then you get the two continents, they are separated from one another, and both the two continents at their margin, they will develop a passive margin setting at their boundary. So, all these aspects that take into account when we talk about the plate tectonics and the basin formation and hydrocarbon accumulation. Now, coming on to the concept of Pangea. The supercontinent concept, that you know that the history of the earth says that the total history of the earth, it is the history of supercontinent amalgamation and its fragmentation. Right from the Precambrian time, we have the Atlantica, Nuna, then Rodinia, then Columbia, then Rodinia, and then you have the Gondwana. So, what Alfred Wegener says, that by about 200 million years, that is the initiation of the Mesozoic period, there is the Triassic, then there was a big continent that was formed, what is named as the Pangea, and then you have the Panthalassa. So, Pangea is a supercontinent which started breaking by the initiation of the Mesozoic, and by 180 million years that the supercontinent they got breaking, and that breaking caused the migration of the continental fragments from the supercontinent, and that formed the present day the land sea scenario. So, this supercontinent and its fragmentation, and that is a major history, of the formation of coastlines of the different continent, and that coastline, we know that the offshore of the major coastlines around the globe, those are the major place for the hydrocarbon reserve. So, what is the history of that fragmentation? And that history of the fragmentation is very important to understand, that where the likely basins were formed and the hydrocarbon reserves were formed. Now, how we know? The question comes, how we know that the supercontinent was broken and that there was a migration of the constituent component, that needs to be known. So, there are different ways. First of all, that the matching of the coastlines, that the matching the eastern coast of South America and the western coast of the Africa, that is very well matched. So, that is one of the criteria people talked about, that to show that these two continents, they were once together, now are separated by the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the question is that can we directly connect the two coastlines, because the coastline geometry is again a function of the relative sea level condition on the coastline, and the sea level rise and fall can change the geometry of the coastline. So, it is always felt that the matching should be done, it should be around the continental slope where it is very steep and it goes to the deep ocean. So, when the contours of the continental slope and the offshore of the southern America and the offshore of the Africa, these two were compared and matched, it was found they are very well matched, and that basically helped us to identify that yes, there was a connection between the two. Also, people have taken help of the orogenic belts which are across this margin, and we found that the orogenic belts, they are found continuous. When if we join the two continents, then the orogenic belts, they are found to be continuous across this joint line. The other criteria which people have talked about, they are the glaciation event, that there is Permo-Carboniferous glaciation event, and there is a thick deposit of the Permo-Carboniferous glaciation event that was found in the Parana basin of the Brazil, and what people have estimated from that the source area of the glaciation that was in the southeast of the basin, and when the correlative of that was south in the African counterpart, there was not much glacial deposit. Of course, there was a thin, but there are plenty examples of the glacial erosional features. That means there was a erosional glacier that was available in the African part, and that helped us to identify that there was a continuity between the two continents. People also took help of the fossil evidence. The fossil evidence that is being sought, that is the Mesosaurus fossil. The Mesosaurus fossil, which is not found in the other part of the world, but that we found in the two sides of the southern Atlantic, that you get the beautiful, plenty examples of the Mesosaurus fossil on the both sides of the southern Atlantic, both in the Africa and South America, and that basically talked about that there was a connection possibly between the two. Same is the Glossopteris flora, that if you see that the Glossopteris flora that belong to the Gondwana and which is reported from the South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, India. So, all these, that the plenty of the Glossopteris flora that is basically found in the sediments of those Gondwana sediments of these different continents, that talk about that these continents were together at one point of time. So, all these features that basically help to identify that there were a supercontinent, and the supercontinent was fragmented, and that fragmented is responsible for fragmentation, is responsible for the coastline formation of the different continents. Besides this, the other criteria people follow, that is the paleomagnetic clue, that the paleomagnetism, that is the magnetism which is recorded within the rock. And that magnetism, there are different kind of paleomagnetism, we call it the remanent magnetism, and that the depositional or the thermal remanent magnetism that is recorded within the igneous rock or the sedimentary rock. From there, the paleopole that is identified, and the matching of paleopole also help in identifying that the blocks which are now separated, they were together at certain point of time. So, all these features that help in talking about that there is a major breaking of the supercontinent, and that led to the separation of the continents. And the major what happened during that time, that if we say that the North American continent that got separated from Africa, you get the Laurasia that was separated from Gondwana, and there was a large Y-shaped fractured zone that was formed in the southern part of the Pangaea, along which the Australia and Antarctica got separated from South America and the Africa. So, these are the major things that happened, and in this process that what we got, that we got the development of a number of different kinds of basins. Some are divergent basins, some are convergent basins, and some are strike slip basins. Now, the divergent basins are there, which we have already discussed, that there are large scale extension in the basin and you get intraplate or interplate, that kind of extension. If you have a intraplate that you extension, then you generate the interplate ribbed basins that we have discussed in the earlier modules also, what is the depositional model for the interplate ribbed basin. We also get the interplate when the basins, when the spreading centers that form, and then the basins which is forming because of the stretching along the crust of the earth. So, these are all the divergent basins. We also get the convergent basins where there is a subduction and the one plate that is going down below the other plate. We also get the subduction between a ocean continent, ocean or a continent. Now, if you have a ocean, that means a oceanic crust going below a oceanic crust. You have a ocean continent, a oceanic crust going below a continental crust. The reason behind this is that the continental crust has a higher buoyancy, so it cannot get subducted, so oceanic crust gets subducted, and when it is a collision between the two continental crusts, then you have the suture zone that basically is formed by the collision and the suturing of the two, the orogenic belts that get formed. So, these are the different basins that we call the foreland basins, the piggyback basins, the remnant basin, that all these kind of basins, that some are ever growing basins, some are ever sinking basins. So, basins of different kind which we have already discussed in sedimentary basin, they basically get formed in as the continents they get separated, they get collided and form the new kind of architecture of the land and sea. Now, this figure basically shows the three different kind of compressional setting or the subduction zone. The first one at the top, that shows a ocean-ocean subduction, and you can have a arc system that is developed on the oceanic crust when both the side, that is the subducting plate and the overriding plate, both are oceanic plate, but depending on their age, the thickness of these plates that differ, and the definitely more denser which is of older, that is likely to be subducting over the younger. Now, the next which is in the middle, that shows a subduction between ocean and the continent. We can see that the oceanic crust that is getting subducted below a continental crust, and the melting part of the ocean that is getting emplaced within the orogenic belt that is getting formed at the subduction zone. The third one at the bottom, that shows a continent-continent subduction, and in this kind of subduction, the we normally what we get that the flipping of the subduction is very common in this kind of setting, and we get the melting of the crust, and that generate the orogenic belts where the suturing of the two continents, and that give development of the beautiful orogenic belts. Now, this figure shows a reconstruction of the Pangaea and the different continent, which possibly it is a reconstructed paleomap of the Pangaea and the different components which is shown at the top, and then you get the dissection and the fragmentation of the Pangaea, and the different parts of the Pangaea, they are getting separated by generation of the formation of the mid-oceanic ridges, and they are getting separated, which for giving rise to the land sea distribution what we see today. So, the figure at the top and figure at the bottom, they are only showing that what was there when the supercontinent Pangaea was existing, and when it went to the fragmentation, what happened to that, how the North America separated from Africa, and then all these features, the Laurasia separated from Gondwana, and all these incidences that gave way to the present day land sea distribution and the generation of the mid-oceanic ridges and the subduction zones, and that configuration is shown at the bottom. Now, coming on to the basin classification, that all these tectonic events that happen, that what we discussed, that there is supercontinent, its fragmentation and all these kind of things. So, there are different kinds of basins that will form accordingly, and what kind of basin, that will depend on in what tectonic scenario it is forming. What is the plate boundary, what kind of plate boundary it is associated with, whether it is in the continental crust the basin is forming, or it is in the oceanic crust, how close it is to the plate margin boundary, and what kind of plate boundary action, that is the extension or convergence or the strike slip kind of setting, what that all talks about that the history of the basin, and that is very important for to understand that what is the history of a basin. Now, not only that, how the basin initiates, what is the evolution pattern of the basin. that how the basin in course of its depositional history, what kind of tectonic effect it has suffered, or whether it was tectonically perturbed or it was tectonically not perturbed. All these are the major effect that will come in picture about that basin. Some of the basins, they may be overturned as well, and so the concept that the total perspective, that is the geological perspective of the basin in terms of its tectonic history from its formation up to the closure, that is very essential to know, so that we can talk about any kind of petroleum system. Now, when we again go to the petroleum system, there we know that we should have a kind of situation where I have the accumulation of organic matter. Now, coming on to the accumulation of organic matter, what I cannot allow organic matter to get recycled or get oxygenated. In that case, that organic matter will never have any potential to give hydrocarbon when you mature it. A organic matter, it has to be preserved as such without getting any kind of major oxidation process. So, you require a kind of anoxic condition where the organic matter that get preserved. But we also know for formation of organic matter, you require the organisms to proliferate, and any organism to proliferate, you require a oxygenated condition. So, you require a oxygenated condition where the organisms will proliferate, there will be the organic bloom, phytoplankton bloom, and all kinds of organisms that will form. But you require a type of condition where when the settlement of the organic matter will happen, that environment should not have major oxygen supply, so that the whatever organic matter is after the death of the organism, the organic matter is settled, that should not have any oxygen. So, they should be preserved in a very low oxygen condition, and that will allow the hydrocarbon to form. So, both the things to satisfy is not a very easy task. You require a stratified water column where the surface water is oxygenated, and it helps in the major oxygen bloom, phytoplankton bloom, but the below water, that is the anoxic, which allows the organic matter to preserve. We also require to have a proper kind of reservoir situation which has a good porosity and permeability, and you require a kind of the continental prism that should be formed, so that the hydrocarbon formed in the source rock that can migrate into the reservoir rock. And we also require some kind of rocks and the strata which will help in the pathway between the formation of the hydrocarbon and its final pathway, and so that it can move to the good porosity permeability bearing reservoir rock. So, all these things that needs to be done, and this the tectonics play a very major role in forming this kind of system. And this is shown in a very tabular way, that what is the requirement for the hydrocarbon formation, and the tectonics, what is the role that is being described in a tabular way. You can see the different kind of condition that may arise, and where you may get the different hydrocarbon reservoir condition to be formed. Now, this figure shows a kind of situation when there is a suturing between the two continents. You can see that the figure A, where a remnant ocean basin, which one example that I have already discussed in some in the other module, that the Bay of Bengal is the example of the remnant. Now, these remnant basins that may still there because the subduction is going on, and there is continental crust on both sides of it which are approaching one another. Now, the closure of the remnant basin that is being shown in the figure B, and this that the basinal crust that becomes the part of the suture zone, which is imminent between the two continental crust approaching one another by the subduction of the basin that was separating them earlier. And the figure C, that basically is the final condition what we may get, that the two continental part, they are now blocked, they are now docked by the suture zone, and the suture zone has docked the two continents by the subduction and the closure of a remnant basin which were existing earlier in between them. We will also discuss the role of rift margin sediment prism. Now, any rift when it is formed and the continental margin, the waste material from the continents, both the siliciclastic as well as the carbonate waste material, that gets dumped at the margin of that in the form of a prism. and this excess load in the form of the deltaic body that forms this prism, and this excess load of sediment on this basin allows the basin to further subside. So, about we can see there are examples of 2 to 2.5 kilometer subsidence in the basin for the prism which extended within the sea about tens to hundreds of kilometers, that is the prism that is extended within the sea. And what we see in such cases, there is progressive dumping, progressive loading of the prism that is there, and also there is the progressive rotation and the subsidence of the basin. So, both progressive loading that we get commonly we get it both in the rifted margin as well as the rift to passive margin transition. In both the cases we get the thick continental sediment prism that will come right onto the basin, and that not only help in the formation of the reservoir, but also it help the basin to further subside because of the excess load, and that help in the further accumulation of the source rock material. So, in both the way that it helps, that it allows the basin to subside, gives a favorable condition to form the source rock material, forms a anoxic condition, and once that form, the coarse clastic prism that help as a reservoir, because that basically moves from by the primary and the secondary migration, this hydrocarbon that moves, and that makes the beautiful stratigraphic trap that we get in the continental prism that are commonly associated with the rifted margins. This figure shows the role of rift margin prism, sediment prism. You can see that there is a continent ocean situation, and then you get the supply of continental derived sediment in a prismatic form, what is shown in the B, that the sediment prism that is loaded onto the oceanic crust. And as you load this sediment prism, the oceanic crust further subsides, and on the distal part of that you get the chance of developing a source rock, and the hydrocarbon what will form, that the arrows clearly show that the hydrocarbon that will form in the distal part, in the anoxic part, that will try to move in the proximal part into the clastic wedge or the prism that is already available and loaded on the oceanic crust. So, the beautiful situation of forming a petroleum system, play system into that, where you have a source rock reservoir combination and you have a pathway by which the hydrocarbon gives a chance to get accumulated after its formation. So, once we have already discussed the different kind of tectonic scenario, the basins, and what are the requirement of the basin formation and the hydrocarbon formation, then we can go for some global example that where this kind of situation has arisen and how it helped in the hydrocarbon reservoir formation. So, this is a first example of the South Atlantic margin, which is very famous for different hydrocarbon reserve. You can see that there is a large number of faults, that is a rifted margin, and then there above the rift there is a clastic wedge that is forming. In fact, at the base of it there was a pre-syn rift, the pre-drift, the lacustrine margin where the salt deposits were there. And then once the clastic prism that was uploaded on that and the limestone that is being formed, then the salt that there were salt domes that were formed, and the hydrocarbons that were formed that migrated from the salt domain into the limestone. So, this is a very good example that how a rift margin that right from the syn rift to the post rift system that help in the formation of the hydrocarbon system that is formed. This figure shows a submarine fan and the turbidite system that is formed, and there is a late Cretaceous turbidite system which also proved to be a very good as a hydrocarbon reserve. And when we talk about the deep water reservoir, this is one of the beautiful kind of scenario that we call the deep water reservoir. You can see that there is a large scale canyon that is being formed, and then the sediment is supplied right onto the basin floor in the form of a fan. So, this is also a very good example of the how the rifted margin and the formation of the passive margin from the rifted margin to passive margin with the development of the self slope system that help in the formation of the reservoir, and this example also from the South Atlantic Ocean that you see that the beautiful situation of the hydrocarbon reservoir formation and the hydrocarbon reserve. So, if we summarize what we have discussed, that the tectonics play a major role in the sedimentary basin formation, and if we extend our that discussion further, it also have a role in the formation of the hydrocarbon reserve. Now, sedimentary basin, that is maybe extensional, compressional or conservative, all the different kind of tectonic setting, because the earth has a history of the supercontinent formation and fragmentation. So, if there is a continuous dynamic tectonic history of the earth, and that dynamic tectonic history of the earth, that is related to the different kind of basin formation in different time domain. And these basins, depending on the degree, the scale of subsidence, scale of uplift, what is the tectonic scenario, that also controls the geothermal gradient of the basin, which is a basic requirement, that if there is a source rock formed, that the maturation of the source rock, maturation of the organic matter, that you require the proper heat and proper time. So, the geothermal gradient is also dependent on the tectonic setting of the basin. So, all these together, that makes a basin a prospective basin for petroleum exploration. And we have shown some classic example from the Atlantic Ocean, the South Atlantic Ocean, that what basically is the condition, that you can have a seam rift condition where you have some lacustrine salt deposit, and then the post rift, the passive merging condition, then you the loading of the clastics and the carbonates, that cause a proper kind of reservoir condition from the initial seam rift to post rift condition. We can also have the development of the passive margin where is the shelf slope condition, and you get the development of good submarine fans which can act as a reservoir in the deep marine situation. So, the basic idea of this discussion is that it is not, nothing is a singular thing, everything is connected, that the sedimentary basin formation, the hydrocarbon formation, accumulation of organic matter, their maturation, and the history of the continents, their amalgamation, fragmentation, all these are together to make a proper situation that we get a hydrocarbon play condition, that you get source rock, migration pathway and the reservoir rock. So, it is a holistic approach of a petroleum system in a tectonic backdrop. That basically is the idea of this module. I believe that you will enjoy this module, and this will encourage you to go to the further literature to read about that what is the role of tectonics or the global tectonics and the basin scale tectonics, finally to the basin evolution, basin formation and the hydrocarbon play formation. Thank you. I believe you have enjoyed it, and we will meet for the other modules as well. Thank you.